Hey all, and welcome to the CIOPCC and this week's favorite collection. This is going to be an odd one this week because it's actually a collection of things I don't really collect. Now, there are lots of people who collect timepieces, watches, and clocks. I'm not one of them. I end up with them because I like the license. I like something about them. But I didn't really intend to collect watches and timepieces. But here we have 28 of them I'm going to show you today that somehow ended up in the Institute. Some of them will be digital, like this Indiana Jones version. This is a PepsiCo promotional watch. Not an expensive watch. Some of them will be cheap. Some of them will be more expensive, like this Pirates of the Caribbean watch with the gold trim there. This is a Warner Brothers analog watch. Some will be digital, some will be analog, some will be cheap, some will be expensive. They'll be all over the place. One of the licenses that has several, of course, is Batman, because you know I love Batman, right? And so that's the kind of a license where I'm likely to buy oddball stuff like this men's watch here. Very heavy duty, comes in a cool tin. This is from the Warner Brothers store. You remember them. They had all kinds of great stuff. Sadly, without them, we just don't get as much cool Warner Brothers stuff. Here we have a really great talking clock. This is from the 1960s. Back when the 66 show was out, there was a ton of Batman goodies produced, and that talking clock is one of them. This might not look like a watch, a Batman watch at first. That's the idea. See, this is a subtle Batman watch. If you're worried about going to the business meeting with the board of directors and them giving you a hard time, that Batman Forever symbol on the face is very subtle. Here we have another Batman watch, not subtle at all. I love this watch. You can tell by the wear on the band that I wore it a lot. This is one that the metal face there, each layer is cut, die cut, really cool. Great looking watch. So let's see, that was like 6 watches already, right? There's quite a few. But we're going to go down, we're going to talk about some of the cheap ones here. You see, I also love to collect Happy Meal toys. And one of the things all of the fast food toy makers like to do is make watches. Here's going to be one of them. Nightmare Before Christmas. Another digital watch. Most of the time, they were digital when they were in kids' meals. I think it's because they were cheaper to make without the moving mechanism. Over here, I'm going to show you another one of those kids' meal ones. But first, I'll show you the sign for one of them. I happen to have this. I have to get this frame. That's why it's laying here. Going to measure it and see where I can get for a frame. Those are the 4 talking watches that Burger King did. You'll see those again here in a minute. Over here, we have another one of the kids' watches, Megamind. You remember this movie? It's a cool movie. And this has Metro Man on the band, as you can see. So I'm betting that there were other versions. At least the band must have changed. This is also an analog watch. Like I just said a minute ago, most of the time, kids' meal watches like that were digital, but there's an analog version. Come down around this way, and we're going to see Ren and Stimpy. This was kind of interesting because it has a lenticular cover that you open up to see the actual digital watch inside. It's pretty plain inside. It just says Nickelodeon. It's the Ren and Stimpy lenticular cover. That's really cool about it. Next up is where we're going to see a lot of the watches, The Simpsons. You know, this is a license where I collect a lot of stuff, so the fact that I would have lots of clocks and watches is not unusual. Over there to Bart's right is the digital clock on this clock radio, which looks like one of the Playmates sets, and it's actually about the same size. Up there on the wall is a terrific clock. That one, when it hits the hour, it always talks. It has 12 different sayings. Some are pretty funny. Come down along this way, you get my favorite wall clock sitting up on the shelf there. This is Moe's Tavern, and the reason I like this is twofold. First, it's because it's 3D. Can't go wrong with a 3D clock. And secondly, because it's Moe. We rarely get Moe. It's usually these two. Here we have 2 alarm clocks, Homer and Bart, that you could sit on your nightstand next to your bed. And Homer and Bart tend to be the ones who are always in the clocks and watches. Now the family's actually going to get in on this one. This is a motion clock. I love this one. I'll show you how this one works. Push the button. you can see they try to get Homer out of there. Here we have my favorite of the Simpsons wristwatches, Itchy and Scratchy. This is a really cool watch, and you can see by how much wear there is on the band. This is another one I wore a lot. Down below, it's one of those cheap watches. It's a lenticular Bart digital watch. Lenticular is kind of cool, but it is one of the cheap Happy Meal type watches. Over here we have the opposite of that. On the right is the Homer Simpson, and on the left is the Bart Simpson. These are the fossil watches. Both of these are the gold versions that they did 500 of. And I really love the case of the Homer one, of course, him sitting on the couch. The watch is stored inside. The case for Bart is just the tin. Down this way, we have a couple more wristwatches. And then guess who's on both of the faces? Homer. This is another lenticular Bart. This time, though, it's actually a cover that you pop open, and on the inside is the watch, similar to that Ren and Stimpy I showed you earlier. Now, that's not quite the end of the Simpsons watches. Remember, I told you I had those Burger King watches to show you. They're over here, all 4 of them still boxed, down there under the shelf. And there's another wall clock, my favorite of the wall clocks. Oh, I said the Mo one was my favorite, didn't I? Well, this one's right up there. As it ticks, you can see the second hand is a donut on the end of it. And as it goes around, Homer's eyes follow the donut. How much fun is that? So that's it for the Simpsons clocks and watches. But now we've got 2 more that I almost forgot about. One of them is a McDonald's version from Bug's Life. It's actually a watch. I know it looks like a big magnifying glass, and it's got a clip on the end. It was called a clip and talk. There's a digital face there inside the magnifying glass part. So you can hang that on your backpack, maybe from your belt next to your onion, as it was the fashion. Over here is a Mickey Mouse watch. Now, Mickey Mouse watches back in the 60s and 70s were really popular. That's from this era. Mickey here has his the 2 hands of the clock, or his arms. Almost forgot about that one. That one was from my childhood. So there we have all my watches and clocks, all my timepieces in the Institute. I'm sure you've got a few too. That's what happens when you collect things. You end up with stuff that you really didn't expect to collect. So let me know what watches and clocks you have from your childhood or from your favorite licenses. Make sure you subscribe, and on Friday we'll be doing another acquisition report. Have a great week.